20 plus stunning DIY backyard oasis hacks, thrift store finds that you have never seen before. Hey there, Earthly Delights family. If your heart beats a little faster when you spot a new sprout, if you find joy in soil-covered hands, thrift store treasure hunts, and turning forgotten corners into leafy sanctuaries, then you've just landed in the right garden. Welcome, my fellow plant lovers, backyard dreamers, and indoor jungle builders. Whether you've got a tiny balcony filled with pots or a wide-open yard begging for transformation, this episode is crafted just for you. Today we're unlocking 20-plus stunning DIY backyard oasis hacks. And the best part? They're built from secondhand finds you can grab for just a few bucks. You'll see creative planters, dreamy lighting, secret garden nooks, and ideas that'll make your space feel like a retreat without spending a fortune. So grab your mug of mint tea, settle into your favorite garden chair, and don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights for more soul-satisfying, plant-powered inspiration. Let's dig in. Part 1. Backyard Lighting Magic. There's something quietly magical about the way light transforms a garden. The way it catches the edge of a leaf, dances through petals, or bathes your favorite corner in a soft golden hue. And when that light comes from something you created with your own hands, from thrifted finds and a little bit of imagination, it feels like even more of a triumph. Let's begin our journey with one of my personal favorites, the teacup fairy light chandelier. Now, I know some of you have a soft spot for vintage charm, and this is where your love of quirky teacups and cozy evening glow come together. Head into any thrift store and you'll likely find mismatched china, floral teacups, gilded rims, maybe even a chipped saucer or two. Don't overlook them. That imperfection? That's character. That's story. Back at home, with a little bit of care and a light hand, you can drill a tiny hole into the base of each cup. Slip a warm-toned fairy light through the center, seal it with waterproof caulk, and hang your new glowing treasures from a tree branch, pergola, or even an upcycled wire basket frame. When night falls, you'll have your very own floating constellation, right in your backyard. But we're just getting started. If the teacup chandelier is delicate and whimsical, the upcycled bed frame firefly wall is bold and industrial. Think of those old metal bed springs you've seen leaning against walls at secondhand shops. Most walk past without a second glance. But not you. You see possibility. Mounted vertically on a wall or fence, those coils become a dreamy grid of tiny lights. Wrap them with solar-powered string lights, and you've got yourself a glowing art piece that flickers like fireflies caught in twilight. And for those who love a little rustic edge, the glass bottle torch pathway might be your next obsession. Clear thrifted wine bottles become torch holders when filled with citronella oil and fitted with a wick. Nestled along your garden path or circling a seating area, they don't just look enchanting, they keep the bugs at bay too. These lighting hacks don't just illuminate your space, they spotlight your creativity. They invite you, and everyone who walks into your garden, to slow down, breathe deeper, and maybe even fall in love with evenings all over again. Ready to bring some height and greenery into your garden next? In Part 2, we're stacking, hanging, and growing our way into planter paradise. Don't go anywhere. Part 2. Elevated and quirky planters. Now that your garden is glowing with light and atmosphere, it's time to give your plants the stage they deserve. Because for those of us who see our gardens as living, breathing art, how we display our plants matters just as much as what we grow. And this next section is where things start to feel really personal, where thrift store finds become planters with personality. Let's start with something delightfully nostalgic, the vintage suitcase garden tower. You know those worn leather suitcases or colorful plastic ones tucked into thrift store corners? They once held someone's travel stories. Now they can cradle your green ones. Line the inside of a sturdy old suitcase with a waterproof layer. An old shower curtain works great, and poke a few drainage holes in the bottom. Fill it with soil and add succulents, trailing ivy, or even a burst of herbs. Then stack a few more closed suitcases underneath or beside it to form a whimsical tower. Each layer tells a story, yours, the suitcases, and the plants. Next, look up, because colander hanging baskets are a full twist on tradition. Those colorful enamel or steel colanders with their built-in drainage, they're practically begging to be filled with soil and cascading blooms. Add moss or coir as a liner, drop in some petunias or string of pearls, and hang them from an old curtain rod, a tree limb, or even a recycled chandelier frame. They sway in the breeze and spill greenery like living chandeliers, turning your space into a hanging garden of wonders. And if your soul leans toward the charmingly odd, meet the enamel teapot succulent station. Picture this: chipped kettles with rose motifs or retro handles lined up on a bench or shelf, each one cradling tiny succulents. They're humble, they're playful, and they're proof that beauty doesn't need to be polished or new. But for the DIYers who like to build upward, here's a fun one: the drawer box herb steps. Reclaimed wooden drawers, painted, stained, or left weathered, can be stacked like a set of steps. Inside each drawer, plant herbs you use often: basil, mint, oregano, chives. It's practical, it's space-saving, and it turns a forgotten dresser into the heart of your garden kitchen. These planter hacks aren't just clever, they're deeply personal. Each one carries your fingerprint. Each one says, "This is my space, my taste, my green story." And with every new leaf that grows from something old, you're proving what gardeners have always known: that life, creativity, and beauty can grow anywhere. And next, we'll turn that creativity toward cozy, functional furniture that makes your garden feel like an extension of your soul. Stick with me. Part 3. Functional furniture flips. There's a certain kind of magic that happens when a piece of furniture, long forgotten in the back corner of a thrift store, finds new life in your garden. It's not just about saving money, it's about storytelling, about seeing the soul of an object and imagining what it could be. In this part, we're taking furniture that once lived indoors and inviting it into the fresh air, giving it new purpose alongside your plants. Let's begin with the broken china mosaic bistro table, a creation that turns cracks and chips into something utterly beautiful. Maybe you've collected mismatched saucers, old chipped plates, or mugs with tiny hairline fractures. Instead of tossing them, we're transforming them. Break them carefully, lay out the pieces like a puzzle on a thrifted metal or wood table, and glue them down in a pattern that feels like you. Grout it, seal it, and suddenly your table isn't just functional. It's a piece of art that reflects your love for imperfection and color. It's where you'll drink your morning tea surrounded by green leaves, listening to the world wake up. Now picture this: the soft sway of curtains in the breeze under your curtain rod pergola drapes. All it takes are a few vintage curtain rods and sheer fabrics, lace tablecloths, old curtains, even light scarves. Paint the rods to match your garden palette, mount them across a pergola or DIY wood frame, and let the fabric drape like poetry. These flowing panels don't just add privacy or softness, they add movement, turning your outdoor space into something cinematic. And at night, add fairy lights tucked into the folds, and it becomes a glowing cocoon where stories are told and laughter lingers. But maybe you're craving a place to sit and simply be. That's where the headboard swing bench enters, an idea born from a piece of furniture you'd never expect. An old wooden headboard painted in calming tones becomes the backrest. A sturdy wood seat is attached beneath, and thick rope or chain lets it swing gently from a tree or frame. Add a few cushions, maybe stitched from thrifted fabric, and you've created more than a bench. You've created a pause, a deep breath in your day. And for the truly practical dreamers, there's the milk crate ottoman planters. These aren't your average footstools. With a cushion on top and plants tucked inside, they serve double duty, seating for guests and green life for your space. Stacked, painted, and personalized, they're the kind of furniture that grows with you. This is the essence of garden furniture reimagined, not mass-produced, not sterile, but soulful, handmade, reflective of who you are. And as we move into the next part, we'll keep climbing, literally. Because it's time to go vertical and let your garden rise. Part 4. Trellises and Vertical Beauty. In every garden, there comes a moment when we stop looking out and start looking up. Vertical gardening isn't just a clever way to save space. It's a celebration of height, texture, and movement. It brings your eyes skyward and makes even the smallest backyard feel lush, layered, and alive. And the best part? It doesn't require expensive trellises or store-bought grids. Just a little imagination and a few forgotten frames. Let's start with a favorite among Earthly Delights fans, the picture frame trellis wall. This one is all about turning plain fences into living, breathing art. Stroll through any thrift store and you'll find picture frames without glass, some simple, others ornate and bursting with vintage flair. Don't pass them up. These aren't just picture holders, they're climbing plant playgrounds in disguise. A quick coat of weatherproof paint, a backing of chicken wire or garden mesh, and suddenly, your fence transforms into a gallery where vines take center stage. Morning glories curl around corners, clematis peeks through like floral brushstrokes. It's vertical gardening, but with a painter's heart. Now, for those who appreciate the elegance of old-world design, try the upside-down chairback vine racks. This might sound unexpected, but that's the joy of it. Find old wooden chairs with carved backs. Maybe they're scratched, maybe missing a leg. Perfect. Remove the backrest, mount it upside down on a wall or fence, and train your vines through the slats. Ivy, jasmine, or even passionflower will find their way through, wrapping their green tendrils around the curves like nature reclaiming its throne. And don't overlook the window shutter climber wall. Those wooden shutters, often found discarded in home renovation piles or vintage shops, make excellent vertical plant holders. Lean them against a fence or secure them flat against a wall. The slats allow for hooks, vines, or even small potted plants to rest between the gaps. Paint them a vibrant garden hue, teal, sage, or soft cream, and let them evolve with the season as flowers bloom and greenery creeps upward. What all these hacks share is their ability to create movement. They invite your plants to rise, to reach, to climb toward the sun. And in doing so, they remind us of something important, that even in tight spaces, even in imperfect conditions, growth is always possible. We just have to make room, and sometimes that room is vertical. In the next part of our journey, we'll step back and look at your garden as a canvas. Get ready to bring in artistry, color, and sparkle, using items no one else thought to save. The transformation is just getting started. Part 5. Artistry in the Garden. Every garden tells a story, but some gardens sing. They hum with color, texture, and movement. They reflect the heart of the gardener not just through what's planted, but through the objects that surround the plants. This next chapter is about turning everyday items, those tossed-aside trinkets and dusty thrift store oddities, into unexpected works of outdoor art. And the best part? You don't need to be a sculptor, just someone who sees potential in the forgotten. Let's begin with a touch of literary whimsy, the typewriter key stepping stones. Remember those old clunky typewriters? Or even early computer keyboards with bold, chunky keys? Most people overlook them, but you, someone who finds poetry in a path, can turn them into something magical. Press those vintage keys into freshly poured concrete stepping stones and spell out garden mantras. Grow, bloom, peace. Each step becomes a word. Each word becomes a rhythm beneath your feet. It's a walking meditation, paved with personality. And what about the vinyl record sun catchers? There's a quiet kind of rebellion in taking old music that once filled rooms and turning it into color-soaked light catchers for your garden. Heat the records gently, shape them into waves, then paint them in translucent hues, amber, emerald, sapphire. Hang them where the sun can filter through. As the breeze turns them, light bounces off the curves, casting shadows and sparkles across your leaves. It's like a silent symphony playing in color. For those who love a soft glow, there's the repurposed book page lanterns. Take old, yellowed pages from novels, poetry books, even sheet music. Roll them into delicate lanterns and drop a battery-powered tea light inside. Hang them in clusters under a tree or from a pergola. And when night falls, it's as if the stories themselves begin to glow. Words once read now shine, casting light on your evening conversations and late-night garden strolls. And if you're ready for something truly bold, try the Mirror Garden Gallery. Scour your local thrift shop for ornate mirrors, mismatched and moody. Spray them with weatherproof paint or leave the frames chipped for rustic charm. Mount them along your garden fence or shed. Not only do they make small spaces feel larger, but they reflect sunlight, greenery, and movement in ways that feel alive, like you're walking through a portal into another garden dimension. Finally, don't underestimate the glamour of the painted silver tray wall display. Old serving trays, once used for high tea or Sunday dinners, now get their moment in the sun. Painted in rose gold, copper, or classic silver, and arranged in clusters, they become reflective, gleaming mosaics that shimmer with every sunset. These artistic hacks aren't just beautiful, they're deeply emotional. They take the pieces of our past, the music, the stories, the mirrors we use to check ourselves in, and bring them into the garden, where they become part of something living. In the next part, we'll bring in motion and the soothing sound of water, crafting features that breathe life into every quiet corner. Stay with me. The garden still has secrets to reveal. Part 6. Water and Motion Features. There's something ancient and soothing about the sound of water and the gentle dance of movement in a garden. It slows your breathing. It quiets the noise in your mind. It brings a sense of rhythm and rest that even the most beautiful flowers can't quite capture on their own. That's why in this part of our backyard journey, we're inviting in water and motion, those subtle elements that make a space feel alive. First, picture the charm of the Teapot Tower water fountain. Imagine stacking vintage teapots, each with a story, a stain, a crack, and turning them into a cascading stream of trickling water. A small solar-powered pump brings it to life, while the mismatched spouts create a melody that feels like nature whispering. It's quaint, it's quirky, and it's utterly soothing. Nearby, your garden catches the wind with the bicycle wheel wind spinners. Spray painted in bold hues and dressed with mirrored beads or thrifted gems, these wheels spin like garden pinwheels for grown-ups. They throw light, they catch breeze, they mesmerize. And tucked in a shady corner, a crystal chandelier fountain, made from thrifted glass and a gentle pump. Water glides down glistening prisms, and just like that, your backyard becomes a sanctuary. These features aren't just decorative, they're soul-deep reminders to slow down and feel. And up next, we'll create hidden nooks where you can do exactly that. Part 7. Secret Garden Corners. Every garden, no matter the size, deserves a secret. Somewhere quiet, tucked away, where the world softens and time seems to pause. And you, dear gardener, deserve a place not just to grow things, but to be. In this part, we're crafting hidden corners that feel like your own private escape. These are not just spaces, they're sanctuaries. Start with the vintage door privacy screen. A single old door, or better yet, two hinged together, suddenly becomes a beautiful barrier between you and the busy world. Painted in soft, chalky hues, sage, rose, or deep navy, it creates a cozy nook in seconds. Add a thrifted bench, a few cushions, and maybe a potted fern beside you. And just like that, you've created your reading corner, your morning coffee spot, your pause. Now let's mirror a little magic with the garden mirror maze fence. Reflective surfaces open up small spaces and bounce light where shadows fall. A few mismatched thrift store mirrors mounted along your fence not only make your garden feel bigger, but give it that enchanted garden feel, like you've stepped into another world. And for the dreamers, the luggage bench book nook. Yes, an old vintage suitcase filled with weatherproof books and topped with a cushion, placed beneath a climbing trellis. A place to sit, to read, to dream. In these secret corners, you're not just a gardener, you're a keeper of wonder. And as we move into our final part, it's time to light the night with something warm, rustic, and magical. Glowing nights and rustic lights. As the sun dips low and the last golden rays stretch across your garden, something shifts. The energy softens, the leaves quiet, and your backyard oasis begins to glow. Not with the heat of the day, but with a warmth all its own. This final chapter is about embracing that gentle magic and lighting up the night with thrifted charm. Let's begin with the tin can lanterns. Simple, yes, but when handled with love and a touch of creativity, they become spellbinding. Picture a row of vintage coffee cans, cleaned, spray-painted in rich matte tones, and punctured with patterns, stars, spirals, or even little hearts. Drop a solar tea light inside, and suddenly your garden path is no longer just a walkway, it's an invitation. And then as you look up, you notice it, the soft flicker of book page lanterns, still glowing from earlier. Floating in the breeze like little whispers, they remind you that light doesn't have to be bright to be powerful. It just needs to feel intentional. This is the closing moment of your garden's daily rhythm, the part where everything slows, where thrifted pieces once discarded now cast a glow on new memories. Your space isn't just beautiful, it's meaningful. And as you take it all in, remember, your garden is a reflection of you. Creative, resourceful, full of heart, and always, always growing.